We are here today with Keith Harless, the manager of the town of Pennington Gap, and Tony Lawson, who is the manager of Lee Theater, celebrating Lee Theater's 10th anniversary. Keith, tell us, you were here when all this came about. Tell us how it happened.
So, I was privileged enough to be on the Pennington Gap Town Council when everything started. In 2005, the town completed a downtown revitalization grant with DHCD. The downtown revitalization did the sidewalk, the streetscapes, and business fronts. When that grant was completed, myself and the town manager at the time, Mark Smith, was at a meeting with DHCD, which was the funder for the downtown revitalization. I was in a late night meeting with Todd Christensen, who was the administrator for DHCD at that time, and we floated the idea to him that we'd like to reopen the Lee Theater. I believe the Lee Theater had closed in around 1980. Did someone say Jaws was the last movie? Or
79, 80, something.
And since then, there was a auto parts store had moved into it beside it, which was the Williams Auto Parts at the time, and they'd used the theater for storage and things of that nature, and it just sat dormant all those years. So we asked the DHCD, Todd, if it'd be possible to take some of our funds that was left over allocated to purchase the theater, because we felt like that the theater would be a good thing to have for downtown. Started off, I know at the time, I think the Jedley Baker Center and one other theater.
I don't really remember how many. There weren't a lot.
Yeah, that had renovated the theater, and that kind of was the thing back then. So we asked Todd if it'd be okay if we can allocate it, so they agreed. So we ended up buying the theater off Jack Turner. I believe he was the owner of the building at the time. And I want to kind of mention the people that was involved when we did it. Like I said before, Mark Smith was the town manager. Jim Smallwood was the mayor. And the council members at the time was Danny Carter, Larry Fish, myself, Keith Harless, Larry Holbrook, and C.R. Wynn. Once we purchased the building, we asked would people be interested in serving on a theater committee and start help putting together some funds and look to get interest in starting the theater and what it would be, what it would take, things of that nature. So we started doing asked to do a theater committee. So the first committee members at the time was Mary Lou Carter, Roberta Smallwood, Joyce Martin, Sandy Montgomery, and C.R. Wynn. They were the original theater committees. Later on, Faye Bocock, Judy Hatmaker, and Fred Wolver, which Fred was later named clerks of the work from the beginning, was added when Montgomery and C.R. Wynn stepped off. So we started down this path, trying to secure funding and trying to get some things together to start getting the theater, get a little spark interest and things of that nature. Well, by 2006, Tina Rowe was the acting town manager at that time, and we had a new council members with Mayor Smallwood alongside C.R. Wynn, Connie Nunley, Mike Ruel, Keith Harless, and Larry Fish. And then we started getting a little momentum after that and started getting some funding. So in 2008, we got our first of our money from the Tobacco Commission, the Virginia Tobacco Commission at the time. And with that money, we helped put a roof on the building. We did some structural improvements and some little bit of homework and stuff. And what really helped us secure the Tobacco Commission money was Delegate Terry Kilgore and Ronnie Montgomery. They were both on the board of the Tobacco Commission and really helped get us our money at that time. And then when that started as like our seed money, and then we went after some more secondary stage money, and the Tobacco Commission gave us some more money. And then the second phase was completed by Quisenberry's, and it was completed in 2010, which did the renovation of the bathrooms, some structural support under the theater, and some wall shear supports and things of that nature. From that point, we started even building more and more momentum with the funding and getting interest, and we was able to complete the lobby, let people come in and see the lobby, see the potential of having the theater, and start looking at some possibilities of getting it completed. We came back and was able to get some donations from the Slant Foundation, from the Appalachia Regional Commission, and even Rural Development. And in March of 2011, the final renovations was out. We bid it out. We had a architect at the time, and the bid came in $1 million over what was budgeted. At that time, a new council came in, and we had to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to get this into budget, and what's it going to take, what we can have and what we cannot have going forward in the theater. So there was a new council in 2010 with Mayor Danny Carter. The mayor was Danny Carter. Council members was Terry Pope, Larry Holbrook, Jim Smallwood, Keith Harless, and Gary McAlay. We seeked out some help trying to find someone to help find us additional funding and things of that nature. So the council hired Phil Hensley, was hired at that time as a project manager in October 2011. Phil was supposed to help us get some more grants and try to get this project under control and going forward. So we ended up engineering and redesigning the theater, and we hired Deanna West of Kane Rational West Architects in Kingsport. They were hired as the architect to redesign the renovations and try to get it within budget. By February 2012, we ended up putting it out to bid. Burwell Construction Company of Bristol submitted the lowest bid, and they was within budget, and that was in December 2012. With the final renovations was completed in October 2013, and then the theater opened in 2013. And I think the council hired Mr. Tony Lawson as the theater manager in August of 2013. So that got you up until getting it built, and who was helpful and responsible.
So the money just kept flowing in.
So yes, we ended up completing the building, and this was brought up by Ms. Smallwood the other time. It was 100% paid for. That the town did not borrow no money to do it. We was able to secure enough grants. We had some influential people that really helped us throughout the state that helped secure a lot of the grants. Like I said, there's many involved, Slant Foundation. I know at the same time we renovated the old Williams Auto Parts store, which were what we was familiar with, which actually became our community center. And we had people like Harold Elliott and people on the hospital commission board. They gave us some money to go towards the theater. They were small donations. The Lanahan family gave us a considerable amount of donations. There was a lot of little stuff come through, and then I think we was shortfall the upstairs. We got everything done except the seating for the upstairs and I think the bathrooms. And at the end of the project, we did our first pro art show, which was Little House on Prairie, and we didn't have chairs for the upstairs, but it sold out. We ended up having to bring chairs over to do the upstairs, and then we came back, and the council at the time, we ended up paying for it out of our pocket. So the town was fortunate enough too. We had enough money in reserves. We was able to pay a lot of this stuff ourselves. So I think the last little bit I remember being on council just to do the seats, chairs, and the bathrooms upstairs. To do a change order for Burwell was almost $100,000, and we kind of paid for it out of reserves. So yeah, we was pretty fortunate.
And then along came Tony.
Yeah, and then it went out of fraction.
Well, what did you walk into, Tony, when you walked in there?
Well, after many years of beating on cars, and like I said, 20-some years of doing that, I became theater manager in September of August 2013. And had no idea that we would be sitting here today talking about a 10-year anniversary. We have found a lot of stuff we know it works, and we have found a lot of stuff that we didn't know it don't work. So we just try to keep plugging along, and what I want to say is I'm glad that we got a council to be open-minded with the theater. That's number one, and plus my volunteer program is number two, because everybody that you see out there is volunteers. So I've been awful lucky in the past 10 years to have people that I can call them up and give up their Friday night or Saturday night and come out there and work.
Tell us about that sound system.
It's really good, and we've added on to it since I've been there. When we came in, we just had it's a nice sound system, but it needed a little additions to bring it up to the level of live concerts and that kind of thing. So we added that, and we added more lights, of course. And that's something we're looking at right now. Hopefully, we can update, because with any electronic system, 10 years, that's old. So we're looking at, in not too long from now, hopefully to redo some of the sound equipment, update it, if you might say, and get up there with where we can do the bigger shows and stuff like that, and meet their demands and all that kind of thing.
Well, you have done some big shows.
Oh yeah, we've
Tucker,
done big shows, and we've a lot of theaters hire sound companies come in and bring stuff in. We are very fortunate. We've never had to hire anything or bring anything in. We've had enough stuff. I think we had to maybe rent a drum riser at one time because it had to be a special size. Other than that, we had everything there at the theater. So,
how do you negotiate with acts? How do you find them?
Well, a lot of times they call you. They'll contact you. And number two, it will be as simple as somebody coming up, hey, I seen a band in Knoxville last night, or I seen a band in such and such. And I'll get the contact information and call them, or YouTube, I get on YouTube and find, just Google something, and then it just starts. And then once you get established, you sort of fall into that circle that everybody knows. All the entertainers that come to these kind of theaters, they may not have never played here, but they know where Lee Theater is. They know that we have concerts, and all the agents, they'll call from time to time and try to book their people in, and you just got to look at the calendar and decide, is that the act that suits here in Lee County and suits the theater. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it don't. So.
Well, that goes with any type of entertainment venue. But people, you're the manager of Lee Theater, but you have been seen working the soundboard, emceeing the shows.
I've got one part-time help, Cassandra Davidson, and she is my part-time help, and me and her, we do everything from stock candy to clean bathrooms to MC the show to be in a show. I mean, We try to do a little bit of everything.
And sometimes you play.
When I can.
Keith, have you ever been there when he played?
Yeah, right before I walk out. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we've had some band X shows in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's his go-to stuff. Or Tony and the Drywallers have opened up a time or two. He's got to get his shine in there every now and then. So. And that's what makes Tony special about being the manager. And you know, like we said, Tony, you know, choosing going forward for the council, we didn't know what it took to manage the theater. And I told the ladies the other night, you know, he talked about the got the building. Okay, then it's like the dog that caught the car. Now what? Okay.
Yeah, right.
And it's like Tony's. So then the town starts doing something it's never done before. Before you had Lehman Field. I mean, you had a swing set. We may run the pool, but that was it. Never had to actually manage. We was always water, sewer, and taxes, police type thing. But now we're doing something. Our goal would be, as a town and as managers, to break even. We felt like going forward that the town could subsidize the theater cost and offset it with our meals tax. And one of the biggest impacts that I can think of, the first show we did at the theater, I was always going to the Roosters Pub. You know, it's been in business 30 years, celebrated this year, but in past. And one of the waitresses had been there for years. And I asked her, I said, well, how was the first show at the theater? And she said, well, I made $140 in tips. And I said, that one night. And I said, well, normally what'd you made on a Saturday night? And she said she'd been lucky to get 30 or 50 bucks. So that one action of that show that night impacted just that one person, and not to mention the restaurants, the businesses. And when we first got started, I know McDonald's and McDonald's especially they would call and get on to Tony because they wanted to know what day the shows was so they could have employees there. They got bombarded the first couple of shows, and you know, everybody, that's the hot spot after the show. They want to go by Hardee's, get a coffee and ice cream or something, and they didn't have enough employees on staff, and they'd get
a good problem to have.
Excellent problem, and we've been very successful with that. I know the Lee Theater holds 500 people. It's nothing. We've had several sold out shows. It's nothing to have, you know, a pretty good show and have 300 people there. For us, when we look at selling 300 tickets, that's not a sold out show, but for a town of 2,000 people, town of Pennington, to sit there on Morgan Avenue and watch 300 people come out of one building is pretty impressive. And that goes back to all the classes and seminars I went to about your downtown renovations, bringing people back downtown. So just to sit there after a show and watch that many people fill the streets up, that's real good for a small town like us. And it bleeds over. We've got, you know, we've kept 2 restaurants in walking distance of the theater, not to mention the other fast food restaurants. And you can go back and look, and I'll just go ahead and talk about the dark times. So the theater opened up in October 2013, and our hospital closed down in December of 2013. I think we all remember that. And it was really changing for us. We lost the hospital, we lost, you know, the coal mine jobs, we lost tobacco, we lost the car dealership, we lost several things, and it's kind of like it was a real touch and go time here in Pennington. You really didn't know, and some of your friends that had the means, they moved because of health care. You know, they wanted to be close to their doctor or a hospital. and there's a lot of questions what's going forward. I think for me, the theater has been that spark that's kept Pennington going and keeping Pennington valued or viable. We've been able to host school events. We did local theater production plays. We've done, like you said, big time show. You had Marty Stewart, the Marshall Tucker Band. I mean, we've had several big ticket items that's brought people from Tennessee and Bluntful and Harlan, and we get a whole bunch of Harlan people comes over. And I think it give the people in Lee County ownership had a pride. You have very prideful. When you walked into the theater and saw it for your first time and didn't realize, I can't believe this is in Pennington, because it is a #1. I mean, Tony's always wanting more sound and more lights and all. That's going to be all the time for any musician. But we've got one of the absolute most impressive. And I argue, you couldn't go to Dollywood and see shows as good as we put on before. And I think a lot of people took a lot of pride in that in Pennington, Lee County. And you would have the Lee players, Don Williams came back and started Lee players up, and we had Lee Hall, and it sold out. I think 3 nights, 2.
It's
and then
2 or 3 nights in one time.
2 full nights in it, and the Sheriff Gary Parsons was in it. All the local people, and everybody just came. They wanted to come see their cousin, their brother, their aunt, their mom, dad, or somebody in the play, and it's just kept on going from there. And Lee Players did a great job, and we had another play production company and to do it. And then, like you say, the pro arts. I mean, it's kind of, for me, it's pro arts helps us out, brings talent and shows here that we normally wouldn't book, and it's something to come in and watch Shakespeare, in downtown Pennington Gap, where normally you wouldn't have nothing like that. You'd have Tony and the Drywallers maybe, but yeah. But so I think we're pretty diverse in what we do, and like going back to, to how the income. So some of the things that we base our successful being in town is basically based upon the meals tax. And so when I started town manager in 2015, I wanted to make sure that we was still on the right path and what it took to make sure we can maintain or increase. And I went back all the way to when the theater started. And even though the hospital closed in December 2013, I think they had 125 jobs still at that time that just quit. You could look at our meals tax, and they significantly just kept going up, and that was the revenue that it created for us to help maintain the theater. And you can see the impact that just having those shows did show that people was coming to Pennington. It showed that people was doing business with businesses in Pennington, and still had a sense of pride, and all the small local businesses, yourself, Heritage TV. I mean, we used to produce a lot of shows and televise them, and people would see them, and
You still do?
yeah, and then we do the commercials and have the local businesses. It gives them a chance to promote themselves and things of that nature. So for me, it's a huge success story.
You mentioned it seats 500, and it's a beautiful facility that could be used for more than just shows and plays, right?
Oh yeah, I mean we encourage, if you got a forum or whatever, if you got your people that you want to do a pretty big presentation, we got all the electronics. Just get a hold of me and I'll make it. We'll schedule it.
Throw out a phone number.
And a wedding.
Do what?
You had a wedding.
Yeah, we've had weddings, and the phone number is 276-546-4000, and that will get you here for the Lee Theater. or you go leetheater.org.
You can buy tickets there for things.
Yeah, you can buy tickets there. You know, we go to a lot of meetings and stuff, and we go to Richmond, and we go up Northern Virginia. People that may have never been here. Of course, they've heard of Pennington Gap, and most of them has heard of Lee Theater. So, you know, it's causing some interest. People, it's just been great, you know.
Well, it's been 10 years. I'll throw this to whoever wants to answer, or both of you. What do you see for the next 10 years?
Well, I think live acts will still be a big thing. Live performances, plays. You know, and where we live, we had found out we have done several gospel groups that have done real well with them, and now we sort of formed a friendship with a lot of the gospel groups, a lot of the agencies, and we hope to do, you know, some more of that, and keep doing the live plays. People love the live plays, and to see where it goes from there.
What about on your side of things, Keith?
My side's the money side, so.
So you're bringing in a lot more money in the next 10 years.
Well, like Tony said before, we do have an excellent council, and we've had a council members in the past that had the foresight of seeing, you know, not really looking at it as dollars and cents, but, you know, the impact of things. There's a lot of uphill hurdles to come. I mean, we're probably going to look at some renovations, or look at you know, the standard wear and tear on the facility, updating the music and stuff. We got a lot of high hopes with a lot of agencies out there that may be able to help us with some grants and stuff that in the future. I still feel like that the town will still continue. I mean, I may not be here, I may or may not be here, but I think that Lee Theater is such an impactful part of the town of Pennington, and is part of it. I think we're intertwined for a long time to come. I think that the public kind of expects it. You know, we try to do at least 3 shows a month at minimum. We do, you know, the movies, live plays, and the local acts, schools. It's become part of, I think, of the heart of Lee County, actually. I mean,
You've had a graduation or two held there too, haven't
oh
you?
yeah, plenty of the vocational school.
Oh yeah,
graduations.
vocational school uses it a lot.
Little
the library uses it. They usually have their little graduation. We got a few churches around. You know, they like the theater because they can get all the friends of the kids and the mamas and papas and mommy and daddies come to the theater, because we hold approximately 500 people. You know, and a lot of times maybe they can't hold that many, or they don't have where to park that many. And we work a lot with people like that. And like I said, when COVID hit, I've had people come up and tell me, said, I would come through here and you all be closed, and they'd say, it don't feel right, because there's always something going on a weekend. And through the COVID times, it was shut down. And they're like, this is so sad. Well, you know, that's what it'd be like if they shut it down now. Would be going by there and say, well, you remember when we went here and saw this live concert, or
Just like you do the old
yes,
now.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys being with me today. It's enlightening what you've told us. A good history of Lee Theater, celebrating either 10 years or more than 10 years, depending on when you see this. So Keith Harless, Tony Lawson, thanks for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
David. Thank you.